Hold tight, everybody, and welcome to Elephant in the Room with Jay Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. This is unbelievably show number 75. So pat yourselves on the back if you've been here through this entire ride of 75 shows. I have, and so has Jake. So join us on this mission to talk Alabama athletics and other stuff, because we're going to talk about the late, great Willie Mays on this show as well. But make sure you like and subscribe. Thumbs up, get in the comments section. And don't forget, we're part of Disrupt the Media, and we appreciate all you guys hanging out with us, Roll Tide Pods. All right, let's jump right into this stuff. And I want to start with a commitment yesterday from four-star offensive lineman Jackson Lloyd. Now, you remember Jackson Lloyd from Carmel, California, same town as Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood. Matter of fact, Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel. Beautiful area in California. Our buddy Skip Powers, who was the I guess not when you were there, but he was the one of the sports information guys for Alabama for a while, and that's how I know him. Great guy. He's from Carmel. Anyway, this was the first guy that Kalen DeBoer gave a scholarship offer to when he took the job, and he brings in Jackson Lloyd in this class, which all of a sudden now is top 5 recruiting class, closing in on top 3. Some publications even have him as number 3, so maybe even closing in on the top recruiting class in the country. But your thoughts on what Alabama's been able to do and the fact that he's bringing in another big guy?
Man, keep racking up the offensive linemen. Can't get enough of them. You know, seems like a big, long guy. I think Kalen DeBoer, after watching Washington last year in that playoff, to me, I felt like one of the weaknesses on that team for Washington was that offensive line, trying to block and manhandle a team like Michigan, who is basically an SEC team. I'm sure that kind of sits in the back of his mind, like I need some real athletic big guys, to be able to compete at this level. And I'm sure there's an emphasis on that offensive line.
6'7", 290 pounds, the number 1 player in some of the publications in the state of California. And he's not just a 6'7" offensive tackle. He also plays first base on the Carmel baseball team, and he's the center on the basketball team. Very athletic, known for being able to retain a lot of knowledge. What's funny to me is you get around these offensive line types, right? Like Shank or like Mike Johnson, and those guys. And you realize, they're big dudes, but they're also really smart.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you can't play offensive line without being pretty intelligent. Unless you got a really smart guy next to you that can just tell you what to do.
Why is that?
A lot of these pass protections, these run schemes, there's a lot of calls, a lot of information that has to be digested quickly. You got to work alongside the guy next to you. You really got to understand what the defense is doing, how they plan on attacking you. And so, again, you got to be able to process it quickly. As soon as the quarterback calls out the mic, that sets the protection, and you got to know, within about 4 or 5 seconds exactly what you're supposed to do. And it all changes based on defensive alignment and understanding, what the defense is doing on the other side of the ball.
Well, another guy that has helped Alabama recruit is Ryan Williams, right? Alabama had some big visitors in Tuscaloosa last weekend, and one of those guys is a wide receiver out of Georgia named Travis Smith. He's a heavy Georgia lean. Alabama, though, trying to make a push for him. They describe him as a very Julio Jones-type-esque wide receiver. But I love the fact that Ryan Williams, we talk a lot about Hollywood Williams. Didn't know if he was coming to Alabama, but then every time you see what these guys have to say, our buddy Andrew Bone always covers these guys. You get a lot of great information from Bone. And it's somehow Ryan Williams' name on these skill guys always pops up as, hey, I loved hanging out with Ryan Williams. You see him smiling. You see him having a good time. Plus, he's a young and up-and-coming star wide receiver. How cool is it just to see a player like that helping this program?
Well, it's like we've talked about before. He's already created a lot of value for himself. He's a hell of a player, but bring the spotlight on these recruits and just showing them, kind of opening the door to see what his experience is like already with Kalen DeBoer and Alabama. It's going to go a long way with these recruits. I think when you have guys, on the team that can influence recruits, kind of show them the positivity of being at Alabama, that gives them, it's a little more transparent than coaches telling you, this is why we want you. We think the world of you, because everybody's saying the same thing as a coach. When you're a player and you go in and you get to meet your future teammates or guys that you could potentially play with, that goes a lot further, in my opinion. I know my official visit to Florida State, I had my David Spurlock, who ended up being a roommate of mine, took me on my official visit, and we had a great time, and it really relaxed me in terms of knowing who I was going to be playing with and who I'd be spending time with every day. So I had a great time on mine, and again, that kind of the first impression you get from your teammates is, to me, the strongest impression of all.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Ryan Williams,
how about did you see what Jalen said about Georgia in that SEC championship game?
Yeah, I did see that. What did he say? Something like
they look defeated, and that he was reading body language and looking at their eyes, and they had just quit by the end of the game.
Yeah,
and
I thought that too.
While I completely understand what he's saying, and I probably agree with him, probably not the right team to say that about, because that's going to be everywhere when they play Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
That is, when we used to play people, Scott Cochran he'd put up all these quotes on the wall, and come to find out after you get done playing them, all that stuff was fake.
He'd put like fake quotes up.
Oh, yeah.
Was there any directed at you?
Oh, yeah. There was always game manager quotes on the wall, for me. I was so mad. And anyway, I know Kirby's going to use the hell out of that quote. I slipped up and said one thing one time. I had Dennis Dodd came in and interviewed me, and I thought, have you ever seen Dennis Dodd?
I've seen him, but not in person.
Well, when I first saw him, I was like, why the hell is James Carville here to interview me?
Oh, yeah, right.
And then we sat down, and I was thinking that, it was kind of off the record when we first sat down, and he was talking about Ole Miss, and I was like, yeah, they wouldn't want to play us again. And I believed it 100%. And, I remember as soon as it was over, Josh Maxson was like, you really had to say that, huh? I was like, and anyway, I remember it kind of got a little bit of play, but we weren't playing Ole Miss later on in the year. And honestly, Ole Miss, wasn't Georgia. And so it really didn't matter. But, we've got Georgia lined up next year, and that's going to be, one of those game of the century types. And so, Kirby's going to be using the hell out of that quote next year, or this coming up season. He's probably using it already.
When they lost, when they couldn't get that, when they didn't have their tight end, and then they didn't have the one wide receiver, they just,
Yeah. Well, I get what he's saying. You could definitely tell. And towards the end of that Ole Miss game, I felt like if we'd have had one more quarter, it would have been, we'd have won that game. And really, there was nobody we played that I felt like, reading body language and looking into their eyes, just didn't feel defeated by the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Except for Clemson. Clemson was the only team that it didn't matter what the score was, where we were. They were all in the entire time.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty. It is one of those comments that they're going to have to live with, but maybe it's motivation for Alabama to live up to the fact that, we're going to say what we want. Some teams are like that.
No, I'm really just joking around at I don't think it matters, but it'll definitely be. It was more so.
But how long does that last in a game? You know, like when you have extra motivation like that.
You know, as a quarterback, I don't think it matters too much because you got so much to think about that. You know, I mean, it matters in preparation, I think. You know, for sure, and during off-season workouts. I mean, you know, Coach Cochran used to have each week was you'd play. You know, it was set up like the season, and so you know he'd be when we played Auburn or the last workout of the year it was Auburn week. And he had that kick six played the entire week of that summer.
Oh, yeah.
By the end of that week, I was so tired. I never want to see kick six again. I never want to hear the commentary. I never want to see it again. We watched it so much that week. But, you know, it's always just motivation. And really, to me, it's motivation and preparation. Guys are really locked in, focused, pissed off during practice. And and over the summer when you're, you know, training and getting ready, you know, I'm sure when they're working out this week, that quote's going to be in every squat rack.
Yeah. Well, Kirby had some quotes about Alabama too. You remember it was kind of like, "Hey, we don't care what they're doing" type thing. And
we don't
worry about them, stuff like that. Like, you know,
I think from a head coach saying stuff like that, I think it. You know, when he says it in the media, I think the players pick up on it, and it gives them a lot of confidence. You know, I mean, it's like the Tennessee head coach right now. When he says things, you know, that team feeds off of it.
The baseball coach.
Yeah. I mean, I think when a coach speaks in an interview, I mean, I think they're really communicating with their team more than they're communicating with the media. You know, trying to send a message to everybody throughout their program that this is kind of what we want. This is what we're about. And, you know, he wants his team to carry themselves the way that he carries himself in interviews.
And this is not the same Alabama team as it was. What do you say? This is not the same Alabama team as it was the year at the beginning of the year. Okay, let's talk about the team that they played when the SEC championship lost to. But yeah, he made some comment. I don't know. Coaches are going to say stuff. And then the other thing is like people take it out of context too. You know, he might not have meant it. I don't know how you walk that one back if you're Milroe. I don't know how you take that out of context. But you know what? He played his best game of the season against Georgia. Alabama always seems to be ready for Georgia when that matchup happens. And I'm excited about the fact that we got them coming to Tuscaloosa this year, and the fact that there's a playoff. So if you lose, you know, you're not out, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh man, you think about the amount of big games for everybody this year, and then the playoff on top of that. I mean, we've got what, 5? I mean, in this era, 5 to 6 playoff caliber games this year.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, when you think about a 12-team playoff, I mean, it's going to be the greatest regular season of college football history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss. You got it. You're not going to have those weeks where you're just like, all right, this is a practice game, getting ready for next week. I mean, you'll have. I think we have a couple, but it is going to be the best regular season of all time.
I agree, man. I can't wait for it. Hey, guys, I want to tell you that our show is proudly brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. And that's mybookie.ag. We've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino canceled because real life came calling. MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your home. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience when the action is in your hands and you don't even have to wear pants. Start at MyBookie today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code NEXTROUND, and a revamped loyalty program ensures a host of exclusive VIP perks. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie. All right, let's change gears here and let's talk about the Rickwood game. We did the show Monday, and I told you I'm going to the game, and I was excited about Willie Mays. I said, hey, you know what, Willie? This could be like when Babe Ruth made his visit to the Babe Ruth story. It was the last time he was seen in public. He was definitely getting up in age. We get done the show, and I'm telling you, it wasn't an hour later that word came from the San Francisco Chronicle that Willie wasn't going to be at the game, and I knew that Willie wanted to be there. So it was like kind of surprising to me, right? I thought, man, he must really just be afraid to travel or not be feeling well. Well, he died. We lost Willie Mays yesterday, and it's honestly, it is it's crazy. Okay, they did the Rickwood game. It's Willie Mays' hometown. He played for the Birmingham Black Barons. Last night they had the Birmingham Barons, the AA team, play the Montgomery Biscuits, and they were wearing throwback uniforms of Negro League teams, and then today they're having a softball game, and then tomorrow it's the Giants against the Cardinals, right? And this was all supposed to be about Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Well, for him to die at the beginning of this means that we have the opportunity now to take this experience and remember the greatest player of all time. The timing, it's sad, but it's impeccable. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's extremely ironic. It's sad. I'm sure he would have loved to have gone out there to his hometown field and see, be kind of, it's weird to say memorialized, but I mean, that was it was honestly his last go round, obviously. So to be able to go out that way and be honored in that way, hopefully his family is able to, I'm sure they'll attend and see all the memorials and see how much their relative grandfather, dad was loved and appreciated. Again, one of the best baseball players of all time. And he's one of those guys that you don't really hear about unless it's, good, honorable stories. At least from what I know of Willie Mays, you always hear the good stories about how he was just a stand-up guy and everybody loved him. I sent you that video of Vin Scully talking to him this morning. Just very well respected and loved throughout that baseball community. So really sad, but I think it'll be a good healing moment for his family,
Yeah. Look, I got some Willie Mays stories. Willie Mays, first off, could be the best baseball player of all time. It's either him or Babe Ruth or both. If you did the Mount Rushmore, which is presidents, and you put them in the side of a mountain, those two are in. Like it's the other two that you don't know who they would put in next to those two. So really, I feel like it's honestly, I feel like it's those two, and then maybe DiMaggio and maybe Mickey Mantle. Be a lot of Yankees up there, but he was a Giant, right?
What about Ted Williams?
Maybe Ted Williams. I don't know, but I mean, it's debatable once you get past him and Babe Ruth. You know what I'm saying? Like, Willie Mays and Babe Ruth are they're 1 and 2 or 1 and 1 or whatever you want to call it. But there's a huge drop off. Ted Williams is a great player, and maybe he belongs on there. I don't know, but I know that the undebatable is Babe Ruth and Willie Mays. And the thing about Willie Mays is that he was so legendary. It was hard to believe that he was really still alive because, the 660 home runs and the great catch in the World Series in 54, his service time for our country, the amazing plays that he had, the stolen bases, the dominance that he had in the game of baseball, and the path that he took to get there, living up in Birmingham and Fairfield, and and then eventually going from there all the way to the major leagues and becoming, the biggest star in the game. Now, I met Willie Mays when I was in Chattanooga working for the Lookouts. One of my first jobs, I had a client. It was an insurance company called Hellspring, and their spokesperson was Willie Mays. So I got to know the people that basically that ran it. And I said, we should bring Willie Mays to Chattanooga. Be in meetings, like, hey, you know what, guys, we should bring Willie Mays here. And damn it, we brought Willie Mays to Chattanooga. It was amazing. Like, it was just like one of those things for me. Like, I just wanted to meet Willie Mays. I just thought it would be cool. And we did. We brought him, and I got to spend a lot of time with him behind the curtain before he went out on stage and talked, and just kind of building up to that event. And he went out and talked about what it was like to play baseball back then, and we talked a lot about Alabama because look, I went to school at Alabama, love Alabama. I played at Rickwood Field. I've told you that. Yeah. And at that time I'd only played there. I hadn't broadcast there yet, but there was a league that I played in college. It was called the Industrial League. And the Industrial League had a team that played in Rickwood. And I played for the West End Dodgers out of West End in Birmingham. And so we played there. And my broadcasting career started there because I told you this. I don't know if I said it on here, but I would make fun of the manager and the fans and some of the teammates and just mock those guys. But anyway, so I would talk to Willie about that. And some of the stories that he told me were amazing. One of them was that he played for, I want to say it was the Chattanooga Black Lookouts, but it might have been, I think that's what he said it was. But it was like a Negro League minor league team that was in Chattanooga. And he said that he wanted to quit playing baseball because if it rained, they didn't get meal money. So he said he almost starved because it rains all the time in Chattanooga. Think about this, So he goes back and he plays for the Birmingham Black Barons. And he was like kind of like, I describe him as like, it must be what it was like watching Pete Crow Armstrong play center for the Cubs right now. Whereas he could just cover so much ground. Like he covers more ground than anyone else. So they had like they had two old guys in right and left, and those guys would just get out of the way and let him catch everything, This was while he was in high school.
Yeah. That's why I say those old school baseball players, I mean, you talk about him starving. You talk some of them going off to war. Coming back, playing baseball. I mean, I think you had and nothing against any professional athletes right now, but their world, I mean, their careers are so much different than it was back then. I mean, those guys were struggling. I mean, they had to go. Some of them get summer jobs. And then again, some of them going and fighting in wars. It's just, and then coming back playing baseball. I mean, the life experiences of those guys is just insane to me, and the unselfishness that they lived with. I mean, just totally dedicated to just being the best person that they could possibly be, and fulfilling a lot of different. The accomplishments on and off the field are just insane, and they just, I don't know. It was a different world, obviously.
Well, he was lucky that he was born when he was born, and he broke in when he broke in, because a lot of players like Satchel Paige, who are from down here near us, didn't get the opportunity to play in the major leagues in their primes because they weren't allowed to play because they were black. And the game of baseball suffers because we don't know how many wins Satchel would have had. You just know from talking to guys like Billy Williams, who I'm a friend of, from Whistler, another Mobile guy, said like he's the best pitcher he ever saw, or one of the best pitchers he ever saw. The guy might have had 400 wins, and then to kind of just piggyback off of that, here's Willie Mays, who basically gets signed by the Giants. He leaves. He doesn't go to his senior prom in Birmingham because he had to go start playing baseball. They send him to Hagerstown to meet his team. He said his aunt gave him a couple sandwiches, Can you imagine how long that train ride would have been from here to Hagerstown with all the stops? I mean, Hagerstown, Maryland's a long way to drive. Think about all and he gets there, and he's the first black player to ever play in that league. And they didn't even let him stay in the same hotel as everyone else. He had to stay in his own hotel. But his teammates tried to climb in the window of his his room to hang out with him, to keep him company, because I think they thought this is so stupid, which it was. And, it was great. And I think it was maybe 4th of July or Memorial Day. He got an awful reception in Hagerstown, jeered by the fans. You saw all the stuff that, Jackie Robinson went through. It was very similar. Then years later, Hagerstown wanted him to come back, and I think he did, to be the grand marshal of like either the Memorial Day parade or it was one of the parades that they had. And I think it's because of his personality, man. I mean, like,
can you imagine? I think about it puts everything into perspective. Like when you're playing, say, me at Alabama, and I get bent out of shape because I hear some trash from fans or something like that. And then you hear stories like, the Willie Mays story or Jackie Robinson. It's like literally everybody but your teammates doesn't want you there.
Yeah, right.
That kind of adversity, you're to focus and be that good on the field with that many distractions and that much hate going on. I can't even imagine the mental fortitude that those guys had just to deal with all that, being away from their families. I'm sure some of the locker room was against you. You had probably, I don't know what the percentage would be, but, I'm sure the bond with the guys that really wanted him there and climbed through his window to hang out with him is just unbreakable, But
well, with stuff like this, it takes that one person that decides that they're not going to tolerate it anymore. It's that one person that says, what we're doing here isn't right, and if it's the right teammate, everyone else is going to follow.
Yeah.
And then you get like the Dodgers, they got rid of what was the Bragan's name? Bobby Bragan, maybe one of the Bragans. They're from Birmingham too. They hated playing with Jackie Robinson at first, and then then the story goes that eventually changed his mind on that one. Who knows? But it takes that. It takes that. It's like hate and racism when you see it, and it's up to you as a person to decide whether you're going to tolerate it or not. I remember my grandfather was a big dude. Looked like he looked like John Wayne. And a country boy, man, wore like coveralls every day. And the story, my dad told me the story, and then my grandfather told me and my grandmother, like back in the 60s, there were people that he was friends with that were in his neighborhood, country folks. They were black, and then all of a sudden some stuff started happening, and my grandfather put an end to it. Like calling the police. It was like him going over to somebody else's house and setting the record straight that we weren't going to have that.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you as a person to decide whether you're gonna accept that behavior or not. So maybe his teammates, maybe he had some teammates that were like my grandfather, who I'm very proud of, or who knows? Maybe you just him with his personality and the fact that he was known for being such a great guy and smiling. When I met him, you feel like you knew him your whole life. Here's the greatest player of all time, and we're talking about the best barbecue place in Birmingham, and just small talk stuff where you can tell he was always at Don and Charlie's restaurant in Arizona. When I was at spring training, I'd spend a month out there. I'd go by there, and sometimes you'd run into Willie 3 or 4 times a spring, because he would just be in there signing autographs, which is crazy. And then I'm telling you, hey, remember me, Willie? Yeah. And the Bay Area is a special place. I've got my my orange on today for Willie, Gary Garcia's favorite player. So sad, man. It really does hit home. That just the timing of it and everything else. And look, he wore number 24. He dies in 24.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always tough to lose a strong man like that, face that much adversity, and when you meet somebody like that, who's been through so much, I almost feel like, they have this calm about them because they feel like they've seen so much throughout their life that nothing's really going to get to them at this point.
Yeah,
it's just like, whatever, we'll deal with it, we'll get it done. I mean, it's just. You meet guys like that, and you kind of know right off the bat there's something different about them.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, you hate to see a guy like that lost just because he had such a positive impact on society. Really,
what a great life too. 93 years is a long life, and to be the best player ever. You'd see him in the locker room. You'd see him at spring training, like just living it up.
Yeah.
93 years, and then the way that he goes out, it's like died peacefully at home around his family. The day that they're having an entire team is wearing a uniform because you wore it. Right. And then for the first time and the only time ever, tomorrow, Major League Baseball is playing a real game, a regular season game in your honor in Birmingham.
Oh, yeah.
You can't be there because you passed away, but it's like, it just gives us a chance to do this, just to talk about the impact that he had on our lives, even if we didn't even know him.
Yeah. I mean, I could not imagine a better funeral service than that right there.
Yeah.
I mean, a baseball game played in your honor and everybody's celebrating you, and he just lived the right way and God's taking care of him.
Yeah. And that's the thing I thought too. I was like,
I mean, that's kind of what I was going through my mind. I mean,
yeah,
it's weird how things work, and it's hard to imagine that God didn't play a part in it,
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
In my mind. It's
just so weird. I've been thinking about it all week because you've been talking about Willie Mays being there.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, I mean, the irony of all that, it's insane, really.
Every time I would see him,
first game ever played in Alabama, the first major league game ever played in Alabama is, the day after Willie Mays passes away.
Yeah.
And it's all about Willie Mays.
Yeah. Tribute to Willie Mays. How lucky are we that a tornado hasn't hit that stadium, or it hasn't burnt down, or something hasn't happened? I mean, to think that Rickwood Field is still there where Willie Mays played and Babe Ruth played. And I mean, all the legends played there. Ted Williams played there. Hank Aaron played there. Like, everybody played there just because the place, Satchel played there. I mean, it's just been around forever.
Yeah.
And it hosted everyone. Maybe the leagues might have been segregated, but the stadium wasn't segregated. And the fact that everybody played there, they had both leagues there.
Yeah.
And in the South, that was kind of one of the epicenters of baseball, especially black baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It really is the Wrigley or the Fenway of the South, and see that Major League Baseball came in and saved it from deterioration, because the place, last time I was there, I was like, man, I don't want to ever see this place not exist. There's just, you walk in and you can just feel the ghosts. You can just feel it.
Yeah,
amazing. So anyway, not to get too deep, but I'm with you. I just couldn't believe it, and I'm saddened, but I'm also just amazed. And we'll all be thinking about Willie Mays this week and tomorrow. When I'll be at the game. Hopefully, some of you guys will give me a roll tide there. Rumor is that the next round guys are going to be there, so I got to find out who's going to be there, because I may have a little something special to wear.
Yeah. Well. What is it? Is it going to be the crab shirt?
No. It's a little it's throwback day. I might have to wear my throwbacks. I'll have to take a picture and see what happens.
You got to have a Willie Mays jersey. Got to.
Better than that. I'm going back in time. I'll just put it like that.
Okay.
We'll see. Anyway, well, that was fun, man. Happy Juneteenth holiday. Enjoy the day off. I see you're at work, but you're one of those guys that shows up and works even when you're off.
Yeah, I got to knock a few things out, but I'm taking an out of uniform day today.
There you go. All right. Well, look, we'll get back together next week. We'll have some more recruiting news, guys. You mentioned rowback, and you're right. I do have a new rowback shirt. I'm not actually taking it on my trip because I don't want anything to happen to it. It might be my new gamer.
Man, you're planning on having a good time, huh?
You got any gamers like you just kind of hold them back for the right day?
Anything white.
Well, you guys can take advantage of 20% off at rowback.com with the promo code room20. But yeah, and it works. It works from what I've heard. The new rowback shirt, though, the new crab rowback that guy's not coming out unless it's a special occasion. So if you see that, you'll know that it's a special occasion. I wore it on Father's Day out to dinner.
Yeah, you see that, Mick is in a good place.
I don't know if they realized it, but I'm wearing my crab shirt and I'm eating my soft shell crab sandwich after I had a bowl of like the crab soup. Like in that movie.
It's a bad day to be a crab.
Did you remember that movie Boomerang? He's like, he got it. He had the mushroom jacket and the mushroom belt. And it's like, you haven't seen that one. You need to check it out. I
need to check that one out.
I might need to send you the clip of that. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll do it again real soon. Get in the comments section. Thanks for making us part of your schedule. 75 shows, man. The question is, when we get to a hundo, when are we going to get to a hundo? But before football season, is that possible?
We'll have to the 100th. We'll have to get Shank and Ryan back in there to celebrate the 100th.
Yeah, I'd say that we need to be at the Florbama. You and I have talked about having Baron Huber on with us down at the Florbama. Be a great, get up there and maybe in one of those areas and just kind of sit there and play the show.
We'll have a little semi-pro round table.
I'm the semi. You guys are the pros. That'd be so fun. And I'll drink some Bushwhackers to keep everybody company.
Oh man, that's very shocking. I'm surprised to hear that.
That's for the team, man. You want for the team. All right, roll tide, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll do it again soon.